This is a severe weather update from your local weather authority.
Welcome back, everyone. We continue to watch a wave of intense thunderstorms rolling in this morning. This storm cluster has a history of winds 60 to 80 miles an hour. It's now moving into central Illinois. We do have a severe thunderstorm warning just west of Peoria for winds that could be gusting up to 70 miles an hour with this wave of thunderstorms. That includes Galesburg, includes areas like Elmwood, Farmington, Brimfield, includes areas down to the south around Canton as well. For, again, very strong, potentially damaging wind gusts as these storms begin to roll east. These storms are moving very quickly with forward speeds at around 60 miles an hour. We're going to track that for you, and I'll take those warning boxes off for you so you can kind of get a better picture of those storms and as they're rolling in. Again, we'll take those warning boxes off, and we'll track this to the east and southeast. I'm especially watching this wave here that's moving into Galesburg right now. Again, these storms are moving fairly quickly, a testament of how strong the winds are aloft in the atmosphere. So between about 55 and 60 miles an hour right now, the estimated forward speed on those thunderstorms. I'm going to kind of narrow down this list of cities for you to give this a better picture. So it looks like as we get into East Peoria, this will be coming in about 9:30 this morning. London Mills, 8:52. Chillicothe, 9:21. We've got Macomb, again, very shortly, about 8:49 this morning. So there's a look at the estimated time of these more intense storms as they roll east 50 to 60 miles an hour across central parts of Illinois. So we'll throw back on the warnings for you. Again, Peoria, the city itself, not under a warning, but just west is where we have that warning, including Farmington, Canton, Brimfield, Elmwood, all the way up to around Princeville, Wyoming. We could see some winds up to 70 miles an hour. We'll throw on our base velocity here. So we're going to be looking at kind of the wind speeds a few thousand feet up in the atmosphere. Again, this isn't always going to give you an exact picture, but this gives you at least a rough idea of what we're scanning with the radar right now with these thunderstorms. So we notice here a pocket kind of just east of Galesburg. Again, these are radar estimated winds, but at the surface, we've been verifying stronger winds than this. We had a maximum wind gust in Davenport this morning at 69 miles an hour, and it remains possible that we could be looking at pockets here where the winds could get 60, 70 miles an hour. So that's why we want to take this warning seriously. It doesn't mean everybody's going to be facing damage here, but there is potential for these winds to really ramp up with this wave of thunderstorms. So we'll throw back the radar for you here. Again, there's what we're watching for right now. We've got a couple areas of strong storms. We'll throw back on the lightning as well. Again, just west of Canton, we're getting very heavy rain, some embedded hail with this. Right now, my main concern that we have is that wind. Galesburg, you're getting pummeled with the very heavy rain. I'm going to throw on our camera, which is out in Galesburg right now. You can see how it's just kind of a blinding rain right now. We've got that wind driving that rain kind of sideways horizontally, and you can just barely make out the flag that is really getting whipped around in these winds that don't look all that intense right now from this vantage point. But again, there is the possibility for these storms to really pack a punch. In fact, the Storm Prediction Center highlighted our area, including Peoria, including Bloomington, that we could have some winds, potentially 80 plus miles an hour this morning. Not completely out of the question, although, again, that would likely be the very high end that we would see, and more the exception and not the rule. But I want to kind of show you here on the bigger picture what we have going on. So we go back at these storm reports. I'm going to throw on our storm reports here as the storms have rolled through Iowa this morning. So I mentioned Davenport had some very strong winds. These are just some of the measured wind speeds here. We did have a wind gust of 60 miles an hour with the storm over parts of far western Henry County earlier. And we can kind of take a look here as these storms move through Iowa this morning. This takes a look at some of the wind damage reports. You see near Cedar Rapids, we had 66 mile per hour winds. But we did see earlier when the storms were closer to Marshalltown, I actually did see a measured report of winds up to 94 miles an hour. And a lot of these reports, 60, 70, 80, kind of in that range is what we've seen. So that's kind of the history for you of what these storms have produced wind speed-wise. And there's a look at the radar as these storms are now crossing their way into central Illinois. We'll throw back on the warnings for you. Again, a fairly wide area under this severe thunderstorm warning. This is for those very strong winds. Right now, if you're areas like Williamsfield, you're really just right on your doorstep now. We've got some very heavy, intense rain. You can see the lightning strikes. You can see there are quite a few. Just from this radar vantage point right here, we're picking up about 86 lightning strikes. So these are going to be fairly noisy thunderstorms as they roll in. Again, watching for those strong wind speeds. We'll throw out our shear rate here, and you can kind of pick up, this is where the radar is saying, hey, we are seeing some stronger winds within the storm system. So just west of Williamsville, as I mentioned, just east of Galesburg, there is a corridor around Knoxville right now where we could be seeing some of those more intense wind speeds. There's the latest radar update. Again, just to the east of Abingdon, we've got some pockets of potentially very intense wind, and that does extend down to the south as well as you go into portions of northern McDonough County. Not as much of a concern as you look at the storms in Fulton County. We are getting a lot more lightning with these, and perhaps not as much of those damaging gusts. That said, though, that storm is certainly packing a punch for you right now as it's moving into Canton. Wind speeds, a little more of an issue here with this area in Knox County and then McDonough County. Again, that is going to be rolling east, and these are rolling east very quickly. I'm going to take a look here. The National Weather Service, we're in constant communication with them. They say the storms are moving 55 to 60 miles an hour. So again, these storms are going to be racing east very quickly as we go throughout the next several minutes here. So let's put a track on this. I'm going to take off my drawing there. We'll give you a kind of estimated time of when the more intense storms will move in. So I know the radar shows we've got a lot of storms here, but let's kind of track where the winds are and talk about where that will be heading. This is kind of the history of the wind shear with these storms, and there's where we're at the moment. I'll throw off the lightning for you, and I'll even throw off our warning boxes, and we'll just track this line of potentially damaging wind as it continues to roll its way east. Right now getting forward speeds on this about 55 miles an hour. So let's do that. We'll track this east, 55 miles per hour, and let's give you an estimated time and when this will start to move in. I'll kind of narrow down the list for you as well for select cities across central Illinois. So this puts it into perhaps around Canton by 9:12. You could be looking at that line of some stronger winds. Here around Peoria International Airport, that would be about 9:26 this morning. Pekin, it would be about 9:33 and about 9:39 for Washburn. Again, at the moment, Peoria itself is not in a severe thunderstorm warning. I'll throw back on our warning boxes for you, and you can see that warning does include Farmington. Canton includes the western portions of Peoria County like Trevoli, Brimfield, Princeville, Dunlap. You're kind of right on that edge there, and all of Stark County included. This goes until 9:15. This is a destructive severe thunderstorm warning. So we put these different tags on these severe thunderstorm warnings. This one is considered a destructive thunderstorm because, again, those winds look to be particularly strong with this wave. I'm going to get an update here from the National Weather Service, and they are still looking at winds around, it looks like 70 miles an hour with this, or 80 miles per hour, excuse me. They just updated this one. Could see winds up to 80 miles an hour with this. Again, these are radar estimated winds that we are starting to see with these storms. And I showed you a little bit ago the timeline for select cities of this wave of intense wind as it rolls east across central parts of Illinois. Let's take a look again over in Galesburg right now. You can see the winds have eased up, and that makes sense because we just saw that wave of strong winds is now east of you. So the worst is now kind of passing Galesburg, but we are still getting pummeled with some very heavy rain. And we can get another perspective here. We're going to look at Peoria, and I can even pan our cameras to kind of get a look off to the west. But as we look over from our Paradise camera, I'm going to click on that, and we'll notice, of course, the ominous skies starting to roll in. This camera will update for you here shortly, and you'll see the live picture. Again, doesn't look all that concerning at the moment here in Peoria, but we do have those intense storms that are situated off to our west. Again, this storm has potential for winds up to 80 miles an hour as it rolls east into the area this morning. So there's the latest radar scan. If you're in Peoria right now, we're not in the warning. We're just picking up some light showers. But again, it's this area here in particular. I'll circle this for you. This is where we're really watching for some intense winds with this storm activity right in here as it continues to roll east very quickly this morning. The latest speed, I'm going to get that for you. It looks like it is moving at about 55 miles per hour. So again, these are very quick moving thunderstorms. This is going to put it again into the Peoria area, probably getting closer to that 9:20-ish window, maybe closer to 9:30 for some of you. But again, if we get beyond 9:15, I think we'll really start to see things ramp up in the Peoria metro area. So right now, the warning does not include the city, but it's just to the west. This is what we consider a destructive severe thunderstorm warning. Again, that's a more intense tag on this severe storm because it could have winds that are a little bit stronger than what we would normally expect with a severe storm. So to get a severe storm, we typically need winds of 60 miles per hour. This one could have winds as high as 80 miles per hour with it as it continues to roll east across Knox County, eventually Peoria County. You're right in the path, and also Fulton County as well. So right now we've got that warning for you until 9:15. Also, the far northern part of the area, this is kind of just outside of our local area of Bureau County, also in that warning until 9:30 this morning, again for some wind and maybe some quarter-sized hail. We'll look at our shear rate once again with this. Some of our stronger winds, again, within the storm system right through the middle of Knox County. So if you're traveling, really, if you're wanting to go west of Brimfield right now, I would really avoid doing that. Not only because of the heavy rain, but again, there's potential for some very powerful winds embedded with this line of storms. It's right kind of over the Avon area at the moment, and that line extends near and just east of Knoxville, but kind of between Knoxville and Williamsfield here is where we're getting some of those more intense winds likely at this time. Again, that could be wind that is enough to cause some damage, enough to cause some power outages. And speaking of, let's take a look at where we are right now. Again, these may not be the most recent numbers, but this is going to show you a testament to the wind speeds, the power outages that we are starting to see come in. So we are noticing a number of power outages to our west. In fact, as you look a little further west here, I'm going to throw in some of the numbers for you. Just west of Knox County, look at that, 5,500 outages, and you can continue to see some outages reported as you go across portions of Iowa. And if anything, this line of storms is probably going to continue to intensify a bit as it rolls in from Knox County, Fulton County, and eventually a good part of our viewing area this morning. So there are power outages reported, and you want to make sure right now you have your electronic devices charged up and just be prepared for the possibility. I know a lot of us went through it just a few days ago with those storms, but here we are again, once again faced with possible power outages as these storms roll in this morning. So let's get you updated again where we are currently with the warnings. The National Weather Service has not extended this warning yet, but I do think very shortly they will include the Peoria area in that severe thunderstorm warning. Right now, this is what we consider a destructive severe thunderstorm that could have winds up to 80 miles an hour. A lot of us will likely see winds a bit less, but there is a possibility that they could get up to that level. Again, that warning does include a good part of the western portions of Peoria County until 9:15. The worst of this has now exited Galesburg. That's the good news for you. So things in Galesburg are kind of quieting down a bit with the winds, but you are still getting quite a bit of heavy rain at this time. I'm going to throw back on our storm reports here to kind of give you a look at where we're at so far as what has been reported from storm spotters and folks out there. As you look off to the west of our local area this morning, you see there was some widespread tree damage across northern Warren County. That's where we saw more than 5,000 outages in our power outage map there. So again, that's the same storm that is now in Knox County, now pushing into northwest Fulton County. This is likely going to bring some embedded very strong winds, and that's going to be right along the I-74 corridor. So we're watching areas like Brimfield, Elmwood. Again, this is just west of here where we are seeing kind of just a wall of wind and heavy rain. And it's kind of like a wall because it's going to hit you very hard with some heavy rain where you can't really see outside, and that rain's going to kind of blow horizontally because, again, it's getting blown around by these very strong winds. You can kind of see here as these storms have raced out of Iowa, packing with them some strong winds from our shear tracks here. That kind of gives us a picture of where we are seeing the more intense wind speeds with these thunderstorms. So right now, we are picking up some stronger winds embedded with this line of thunderstorms across Knox County, northwest Fulton County, and these storms are rolling east very quickly. Going to get the latest speed on this. It looks like it's still moving at 55 miles per hour. If you're just joining in now, I want to give you an updated track so you can kind of know when to expect some of the worst of these storms. We've got a couple areas here. The one line moving through Canton right now is bringing some very heavy rain, a lot of lightning, and potentially around quarter-sized hail. That would be 1 inch in diameter. And then we have this secondary line, which is more intense when it comes to the winds, that is pushing in. So Canton, you kind of get a 1-2 punch, unfortunately, with those storms rolling in right now. So let's get an updated track for you on these storms, where they are most intense, and talk about what time they will be in your specific area. So right now I'm going to really watch this wave here that I think has the most intense wind speeds as this rolls east about 55 miles an hour, kind of east-southeast with this here. So we'll put a track on this. Again, that's going to be pushing into Farmington about 9:04 this morning. We'll kind of narrow down that list for you. Peoria 9:26 was when we could see some of the most intense of those storms rolling in. Pekin 9:31. And it looks like Washburn. I know you in Washburn, I know some of you are likely dealing with some anxiety from what happened last week. We're not seeing any tornadic activity right now. These are just winds, very strong thunderstorm winds that are rolling in with these storms. So here's the latest look at the warning map. No tornado alerts, but these are all severe thunderstorm alerts for central Illinois. We'll give you another look at that here. We've got a tornado watch for the area, which goes until 3 o'clock this afternoon. So again, that tornado threat, it's low right now, but what we have is a warm front that is slowly lifting north, and with time, we'll start to bring in a threat of tornadoes embedded with this. But right now, it is just wind that I'm most concerned about as these storms continue to roll east across the area. So the worst has moved out of Galesburg. Now, the wind has really calmed down in Galesburg now, but we are still seeing some of that rain. Again, the worst of it is just off to your east. That severe thunderstorm warning continues for Knox County until 9:15. I'm going to look at, we have, of course, our emergency managers out there, and they give us constant updates as far as what they are seeing in their areas. We have reports out of Fulton County. It looks like they put a tornado possible tag to that severe thunderstorm warning as well that is moving through. So they are mentioning that, hey, you know, even though wind is going to be the main issue here, these are just straight line winds, there could possibly even be a tornado. And it gets to a point where at this point you don't even see the difference between if it's a tornado or it's just a strong thunderstorm with wind, because both will do pretty much just as much damage there. The strongest winds right now, we kind of go to our base velocity. I'm going to go back onto the Davenport radar here. Again, seeing some of the stronger wind indications across western Peoria County now, starting to get in on some of the more intense storms with this line as it continues to roll east very quickly here, with winds potentially 50, 60, and it could be as high as 80 miles an hour with this wave of intense thunderstorms. So right now, we are seeing this storm activity really pick up around areas like Williamsfield. You're starting to get in on that wall of some stronger wind speeds and very heavy rain. In areas just west of Elmwood, we are seeing some of the more intense winds right now. Canton, you're getting hit with some very heavy rain, a lot of lightning. There could be some hail around quarter size in your area at this time. The stronger winds appear to be with this wave here, kind of off to the west. Again, it is approaching Elmwood. Williamsfield, you're kind of right in the midst of it right now with some of those more intense wind speeds with this line of thunderstorms. Here's the latest of where we are right now. Again, these storms have had a history of winds 60, 80 miles an hour as they have rolled out of Iowa this morning. We'll kind of give you a bigger picture here of what's going on our wider radar mosaic this morning. You can see we're getting into some very intense storms across west central Illinois, right up through southeast Iowa. These storms continue to roll east and southeast around 50 to 60 miles an hour. And as they continue to do so, we will have the risk to see very strong, potentially damaging winds as they roll into central Illinois. So again, severe thunderstorm warning until 9:15 this morning includes Farmington, includes areas like Williamsfield, Brimfield, likely seeing some of the stronger winds right in here at this time with this wave of intense storms. But we could be getting some damaging winds even with this wave out around Canton. As these storms roll east, again, it looks like Peoria, just before 9:30, we'll see those more intense storms. You can tune into WMBD Plus for continued coverage.
For severe weather alerts and updates, download the CI Proud to Go weather app. We now return to your regularly scheduled program, already in progress.